that, I decided to go ahead and pick up Crash by Nicole Williams. It is a new adult book. It is about Lucy and Jude. Lucy is a dancer. Her dream is to become a famous ballerina, and Jude has no aspirations, basically. He is the quintessential bad boy. He has been arrested, he's been to juvie. I loved how they met and how their relationship starts to evolve from there. He kind of tells her, like, stay away from me, like, I'm not good for you. And she's like, whatever. And then, he starts doing sweet things for her, and then they get into a sticky situation, and they find out that they go to the same school, and everything evolves from there. And I was intrigued on Jude's story, like why he was the way that he is, and there was such a twist in the story that I did not expect at all. Like, I was like, what? And I was like, really? Like, after all of this, it felt like it was gonna ruin their relationship, and it kind of did, but it wasn't because of them. Like, it was outside forces that was affecting the relationship, and it was such this big twist, and I was like, wow. And I I didn't know how to take this twist, but I really, really enjoyed it. So I did go ahead and give it 4 out of 5 stars. I did go ahead and go on to the next book in the trilogy, which is Clash. And at this point, they're in college. Jude is plays football while Lucy is at Juilliard, and trying to have their relationship survive, especially with him being like the star quarterback and everybody's after him. There's like this cheerleader, and them trying to have a relationship kind of long distance. Like, it's not that long distance, a couple hours, but it's still, they're at separate schools. They only see each other like on the weekends, and that's it. And having like these outside forces, super good. Like, I really enjoyed it. I saw them still growing. Like, they were still kind of go like having, like, some of the problems that they were having were like, really just talk to each other, but I can see them realistically happening. The character growth was a little slow at times, where I was like, oh my god, just get over it. But it was fine. Like, I still enjoyed it. I did go ahead and give it 4 out of 5 stars. And because I wanted to know how this story was going to end, I did go ahead and pick up book 3, which is Crush. And at this point in their lives, it fast forwards 4 years. So they're about to, finish college and figure out what they're going to do with their lives, professionally. Like, what's going to happen after college. Is Jude going to go NFL? Is Lucy going to like travel the world? Like, what company, like dance company, like ballet company she's gonna be with, and things like that. And at this point, it's also kind of like Jude's turn to be jealous, because in book 2 it was more of Lucy's jealousy that was kind of taken over. So in this point, it's Jude's turn, and I understood it just because they spent a lot of time together. So at this point in their lives, they're kind of going like different routes, and they do spend quite a few days and weeks apart from each other. So I get it. And I loved it. I thought it was super cute. I enjoyed the ending, and I did go ahead and give it 4 out of 5 stars as well. And after reading that, like, I still wanted that relationship that included football. So I was like digging around Goodreads, and I found a similar story that kind of followed that. Would be One Week Girlfriend by Monica Murphy, and this one follows Fable and Drew. Fable comes from the poor side of the tracks, I guess I should say, where she's the breadwinner. She has a little brother, and then she has her mother, who her mother would rather be out with her new boyfriend than trying to have the household survive. Having them be able to pay their bills and things like that. Then there's Drew. Drew, it comes from a very prominent family. He is the quarterback of the college football team, and he's like a great player. The only problem that he has is that he doesn't really get along with family members. And this is where it kind of gets sticky, because he has to go home for Thanksgiving. He hasn't been home in like a couple of years and he's like dreading it. He doesn't want to go and he needs a buffer. So his bright idea is to go ahead and have a girlfriend for a week to kind of have a buffer. So he offers Fable so much money to go ahead and go with him for a week home to pretend to be his girlfriend, to be his buffer, to be able to get away from family commitments and things of that nature. I was intrigued because I was like, why does he need a buffer? Like, what's going on? What's the big secret? Things of that nature. And I kind of guessed what was going on as you read it, like as you see the interaction between the family members, like you're like, oh, that's what it is. Like, you know what I mean? But the little twist that happened towards the end, I was like, what? WTF? Like, seriously? Like, it was so. I was not expecting it. Like, right when she was about to say it, I was like, she's not gonna say that. She's not gonna say that. And then she does, and I was like, oh my god, this is insane. But I was like, oh my god, like it left this like huge impression. Like I was super intrigued. I was super invested in these characters that I had to give this book 5 out of 5 stars because it was just that intense for me. So then I went on as quickly as I could into book 2, which is Second Chance Boyfriend. And at this point, Drew and Fable have not seen each other in a while. And you'll kind of know why because at the end of book 1, I don't want to give that away, but they're not near each other. And it's kind of the journey of them growing and overcoming those outcomes, like things that happen in book 1 and things that are happening on Fable's side of her family, like having to deal kind of like her turn to kind of deal with family stuff. And I loved it. I love the concept of marshmallow, and if you guys have ever read it, you know what I'm talking about. I loved it, even though there wasn't like anything, like hardly anything about football compared to the Crash and Crush and Clash trilogy. I don't know what it's called. Um, that had, quite a few, football stuff. And this one didn't. It was okay, even though that's kind of what I was after. I was still fine because of the impression that it left me. So I did love it. I did go ahead and give it 5 out of 5 stars. After that, I knew I had to go ahead and pick up the next book that I had to read for my book club, which is Starling by Lesley Livingston. This follows Mason Starling, who is a high school student who is just very driven in the art of fencing. She wants to get on like the national team. Right off the bat, like action starts right away. I was like, wow, like I wasn't expecting it to happen so quickly, but I loved it. I loved how they brought in the Phineas Wolf all of a sudden, or not all of a sudden, but how they like introduced him as a character. He is a previous character from the Wondrous Strange trilogy. What I hated about that, and it had nothing to do with the story, it was more myself that as I was reading the story, I kept trying to remember what happened to Finn. Like once I let it go, like I was able to enjoy it more. And I'm the type of person that I love mythology. I love Norse, Egyptian, Greek. I love mythology. So I love that it had a lot of mythology, like, and it had like a little bit of Fae versus the Wonder Strange was just all Fae mythology. I was like super intrigued on how they were meshing all of these mythologies together, and I loved how Finn was evolving from the character as I knew him on Wonder Strange. So I love that he was able to kind of be more of himself, especially since he kind of didn't remember his past life or anything like that. There's a lot of things that he knew, but he didn't know how he knew it, and I love that part of it as well. But I was intrigued. I liked it. I liked Mason as a character. I'm intrigued by her brothers. More Roth than Rory. Rory, I just wanted to choke him. But I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I did go ahead and pick up Starling after that one. I am halfway through, so this is my half. I there's like 325 pages. I'm on 143. It's not that I don't like it. I'm interested. It's fast paced. It's covering a lot of mythology. There's more Greek and Egyptian so far, and I think because the majority of Starling had more Norse, which makes sense because it's more of that concept. But right now, because of what's going on, there's more of that mythology, and I'm liking it. But I don't know, like I wanted a little break. I think I wanted a little bit more romance instead of action. So I went ahead and I put this down.